Welcome back. Another week. Mental Health Mondays is the week of October something, middle of October. Can't believe we're already here. I took a little week off, kind of on accident. Didn't mean to. Life got in the way a little bit. Happens. Not a problem. It's okay. But we're back this week. So I have 2 weeks of stuff to talk about. Doing another week here where I'm winging it because I didn't take the time to write stuff out. Again, I kind of like the more impromptu aspect of it. It makes it harder to edit for social media, but whatever. What does it matter? It doesn't matter. Why am I talking about that? It's okay. So yeah, another week. Doing pretty okay mentally. Ups and downs, always. That will always stay true, regardless of how good I think I feel or whatever. There will always be something that comes up that takes me down a notch. That's okay. It's humbling. It's part of life. It's part of continuing to learn and grow. So I'm just trying to embrace it like that. Let's see. Went to a wonderful, wonderful concert this weekend. Corey Henry. Oh, wearing the shirt. Corey Henry, one of my favorite musicians. Definitely one of my current inspirations musically. Amazing. Definitely check him out if you haven't ever listened to him, heard of him. Very good chance you haven't. If you're not a search, or if you don't look into things that aren't more mainstream, because he's definitely not necessarily mainstream, more gospel-y, funk. It's fucking amazing. It was fantastic. Concert's amazing. He's a world-class musician, and he brought out my favorite saxophone player, Kamasi Washington, another guy you need to check out if you haven't. He's another one of my very much current inspirations. And it just blew my mind. Maybe I'll put the video in the podcast right here. My reaction to him bringing him out. It's kind of like I've been to hip-hop concerts, big concerts, where a huge artist brings out another huge artist, and it's always this kind of fun moment where everyone goes, oh, no way. And there was definitely some of that, but it wasn't as much. No one was excited as I was. And I feel like the crowd at that concert certainly knows who that guy is, who this incredible musician is, but I was a little underwhelmed at the response of other people, but it doesn't matter. They were enjoying the concert the way they wanted to enjoy it, but I definitely was super psyched when they brought him out. And it was just like the whole concert, I was being a bit of a curmudgeon up to that point. I was really enjoying it. It was incredible. But the sound was bothering me a bit because it's like jazzy, funky music, not a rock concert, not a hip-hop concert. And I know I'm going to sound like an old man right now, but like the bass was too much. It's not like, the music is too loud. It's just the bass, I feel like, overpowered everything else, the vocals and like, not to get music nerdy about it, but like the mid-level stuff or high-end stuff, like, the singing and all the synthesizers and organs and stuff that Corey Henry plays and he specializes in, which is what I went to see. So I was getting a little annoyed with that, and it doesn't mean that I didn't enjoy the concert or that it was like bad. I'm sure that is the industry standard of live engineering. The concert is to have the bass booming so you can feel it. Literally could feel it in my chest. But again, it's not like 808 Drake concert like where you want the bass to be going crazy. So it was a little much in my opinion. But anyways, I've caught myself like being nerdy and annoying about that at different times throughout the concert, and I kept mentioning it to Jay, and obviously it wasn't trying to like be a bummer, but I kept being like, I feel like the sound is all fucked up. But when he brought Kamasi Washington out, my whole demeanor changed, and I really did turn into a little kid. I was like clapping, like I was so excited and stuff. So it just was like a little moment of like, yeah, dummy, you're here to enjoy life and have fun, and you are having fun, so let yourself actually have fun. And I did. It was fantastic. And he melted my brain. He was only out for one song and just shredded the sax the entire time. So hard. It was amazing. So yeah, that was a lot of fun, but it was one of those reminders of like, you are purposefully not having, I enjoyed it. It was a great time. The whole time I was having fun. But in those little moments where I was like, I don't love the sound here. It's like, what am I complaining about? I'm out alive, like part of the world, like living life. That was another lesson I felt that I got recently is like, I don't know, it was a trip. Like, I feel like recently I haven't really been out doing stuff. Like me and my girlfriend love going out to dinner and things like that. So we do that periodically as much as we can with the budget that we're on. But so like that kind of stuff is pretty regular, but haven't been to a show in a long time. I went to the mall recently, which is like something I haven't done in straight up like a year or two. Which when I was younger I loved going to the mall. Now I don't love it. But going out and doing those things every once in a while, I enjoy being out. I don't necessarily consider myself a homebody. I do enjoy being home and in my element and comfortable, especially in the studio and stuff. But I also do need to get out every once in a while and just like exhale. Because as much as home is your comfort, sometimes I feel like we kind of stuff ourselves inside too much, and it can become the opposite of what it needs to be. It can feel claustrophobic if you're just constantly at home, not going out and experiencing things, doing things. So even as something as little as going to the mall the other day kind of felt good for a second, but then the way my brain works, we were at the Beverly Center in Beverly Hills, which if you aren't in LA watching this podcast, or if you've never been here or don't know what that is, it's just a really nice shopping mall. It's honestly, it's a clusterfuck the way of it organized. It's like 7 floors, and like 5 of them are parking, something crazy like that. But the demographic of people there tend to be, at least it seemingly, because there's Louis Vuitton and Fenty, and I don't even know if that's really that fancy. Yves Saint Laurent and like all those kinds of stores, Gucci, like all those kinds of stores there. So obviously a higher end clientele, is one way to put it, is the typical crowd there. So, and I don't mingle with those types of people very much because I don't have money. And it's just interesting. I'm a big people watcher, and without even trying, I'm like overanalyzing everything that's going on around me at all times. So it was interesting to be around that crowd and just think, it's so hard for me not to be like, God, this is all for show. This all means nothing. And that's not to shit on like people who enjoy that kind of stuff, because at that same time, I'm also looking at all these stores being like, I wish I could afford some of this stuff, not for like, look at me, look what I'm wearing, but I enjoy it. I do like nice things. I do enjoy the finer things in life. But also, I see how ridiculous and what a waste it is. And we were walking past, I forget exactly which store, maybe the Gucci store, I don't know, and there was like shoes in the window. And we were just like, yo, that pair of shoes is literally like $2,500. And it's for what? To walk in, to put your stinky ass feet in and get dirty and wear like 3 times in your life because it's you're wearing a used car on your feet. So it's just funny. I don't know. It's like I enjoyed very much being out of the house. It was kind of nice to just feel like you're a part of the world. Because again, sometimes when you stay home too much or for too long, you haven't gone out and done something, it kind of can feel like, what the hell is going on here? Like it feels very like you're in your own universe, which can be a beneficial thing, but also can be like you put a little too much emphasis on yourself, which you should always be focused on yourself. But you know what I'm saying? You put a little too much emphasis on what's going on in your life, and it makes the problem seem a little bit bigger. And then when you go out in the world and even just being around a bunch of different people, it's like, oh yeah, they all have their own problems. They all have their own story. They're all going through their own thing, whatever it is, good, bad, indifferent. And so as much as my problems matter to me, right here, right now, is proof that like it doesn't matter to everyone, and there's a larger thing at play here. So sometimes you get that feeling like eating mushrooms and being on the beach, and sometimes you get that feeling just going to the mall. So this time was just going to the mall. I just kind of had that feeling of like, oh yeah, there's like a lot of shit going on when I'm just in the studio. So it was just interesting. I know that's literally not interesting at all to just be like, well, I went to the mall and I saw a lot of people and it was weird. That's not what I mean. I guess I'm having trouble putting into words exactly my thought process when I'm in an environment like that. But it's just like we really all are just moving in our own direction with one goal in mind, and that's to eat and drink, and then add into it all of this other shit of like, well, I need to have a nice shirt to wear at this concert. God forbid anyone sees me in a shirt that I've owned for too long. It's like really back and forth. Sometimes I struggle with that, I think, mentally, like taking things too seriously, where it's like, yeah, but it's okay. It's okay to want nice things. It's okay to want to look nice and feel good about yourself. That's all okay. But then the other part of me is like, this is all for show. This is all fake. None of this is real. None of this really matters. And that is the truth. None of that stuff really matters, but it doesn't mean that we need to eliminate it completely from our lives if we can keep in perspective that some of that stuff is fun. Sometimes it's fun to dress up and feel good and look nice and go out and have some fun. So I had both of those things happen to me this weekend. And I think that that'll just be forever who I am. I think most people, maybe most, I don't know. I think a lot of people think that way, where it's like none of that stuff really matters. But at the same time, we all have a little bit of superficial in us, just a tad. And I think a little level of it is okay, because at some point it's just like for yourself. It's just respecting yourself. Like, I want to look good. I want to be presentable. I want to have nice things, because they add some sort of comfort level to my life, even if it's insignificant and not authentic. I think it's still okay. My dad always used to instill in me the whole look good, feel good, play good aspect, specifically pertaining to sports. But obviously it doesn't really matter if your shirt's untucked when you're playing baseball or something like that. But when you feel all put together, there is a certain mental aspect of it that does help you. So, everything is about balance. It's like you shouldn't invest too much of your time into that kind of shit, but it does matter a little, at least a little. So it was fun just going to the mall and being like, am I nuts for looking at all these people and having just a billion thoughts zooming through my head and all the lights and the displays of everything? It's hard for me not to think it's all just this big con. Because it is, in part, advertising and all this shit and the way they present things, and everything looks so nice and amazing. And then you put it on and like, I'm a fat slob. I hate this fucking shirt, which just happened to me. Not talking down on myself, just being a little funny. I stopped myself. But although I will tell you that I did try a short sleeve button up on from Zara. Don't know if you're familiar with their work. They have some nice stuff, decent men's clothing and stuff. Tons of women's options. I really feel that there's way more options clothing-wise in some of these stores for females. Like, I feel like if I was a woman or wore women's clothes, I would have unlimited amounts of options. We were looking for my girlfriend, and I was like, I love that, I love that, I love that, I love that. Well, look, for me, I'm like, all this shit's stupid. Maybe that's just me, but I tried a short-sleeve button-up shirt on, and like I said, my girlfriend was there. We were kind of helping each other out, like, oh, I like that, or whatever. How do you think it looks? That type of thing. 80s montage style, like, when you got the one. So I tried a short sleeve button-up shirt on, XL, and I put the first button on, and I'm like, oh, okay, the arms are a little snug, but I think that's kind of the style of the shirt. I think it'll look good. I put the second button on, and I'm like, there's no way that this is an extra large shirt. Put the third button on, I'm like, I'm not going to be able to button all these buttons. So I knew it was already a waste of time to continue to do it. The shirt doesn't fit. I'm not going to get a 2XL in it because I don't even think they make that. And whatever, I just knew that it wasn't going to be a viable option to wear. But I couldn't help myself. I knew it would make my girlfriend laugh, and I was literally laughing buttoning the shirt, and I just kept doing it, and like kind of purposely pushed my gut out a little bit, and I walked out. I was like, what do you think? And we both just started laughing. It was ridiculous. Obviously, didn't fit. Looked funny. So there's another little aspect. It's okay. You got to laugh at yourself. That's fun. I could have taken them, because as much as body image issues definitely seem to affect women in greater numbers and greater frequency, and we as a society have made it very difficult for that not to be the case. I think a lot of men suffer from it too. I know that I do in to a certain extent. We all are self-conscious in some way. And so, I've always had, like, my weight has always fluctuated a bit. So I was proud of myself for just laughing. I genuinely didn't care. Like, it wasn't like, I didn't feel sorry for myself. I just was like, this is hilarious. This is an extra large shirt. How? And it does not fit at all. So anyways, yeah. The mall, man. Lots of stuff you learn at the mall. Yeah, so that was what I did this weekend, I guess, was just I went to the mall to look for clothes to wear to the concert that we went to. My birthday present from April, but it got canceled, and now they just played the show. So it was super fun. Fantastic show. Let me take a sip of my tea. Wonderful. Little, what do we got in there? A little ginger lemon tea for the old gut. And then today, it's nighttime. Usually I try to record the podcast during the day just because, because editing and all that stuff takes a while. But it took me a little while because it's a big sports day in this household. The Jets, I don't know if you care about sports if you're watching this. I know this is a mental health podcast. I know I'm going off the rails a little bit. I'm kind of just talking about my everyday experience and how mental health ties into it. But yeah, so watching sports today, Jets, Packers. Historically, Packers, fantastic franchise. Jets stink. And they won, and it was so exciting. It was a great big win for the Jets, so it was fun to feel excited about, again, something very silly, kind of like the last episode with the Hocus Pocus situation. I was just letting myself go and enjoy the game. And also drank for the first time last night in a long time, so I wasn't hungover necessarily, but I definitely was exhausted. We got home late. I feel like an old man at this point. Especially as someone who's a musician, it's like, oh, that concert went so long. Why? Whatever. It was fun. But yeah, so we got to watch that. That was fun. Took a little midday nap. Fantastic. You might not find a better nap if you're a football fan, especially, than the Sunday. The first window of games is coming to an end. The second window of games is starting midday. Sun might be starting to go down a little because it's getting colder out, and it's just, oh God, it's the best nap you'll ever have. So I took a little nap, and then more importantly, sports-wise, the Yankees were on. It's playoff time. They're fighting off elimination to the pesky Cleveland Guardians. And it's funny how sports relates back to your mental health. I know I talked about this a little last episode, but just when I was talking about it last episode, it wasn't the playoffs. So I was not making fun of fans that get too into it because I am that fan. But kind of, it's like, does it really matter? No. But when the playoffs come around, that feeling of like living and dying with every second of the game intensifies completely. So it was an elimination game. So we had to win to continue to play. I'm on the Yankees. Didn't know if you know. The Yankees had to win to continue. So it was a super stressful, intense game, as every game this series has been. And we're sitting there, and we're watching, and we're talking about, if you don't know baseball strategy and stuff, you use more than one pitcher in a game. I'm not going to give you a baseball lesson right now, but typically, obviously, more than one pitcher gets used in a game, especially in modern-day baseball. They use a ton of guys out of the bullpen. And obviously, you can't you'll destroy your arm if you pitch every single day, so they can't use certain guys tomorrow. And then we're thinking, okay, well, if they use these guys, this player and this player today, probably won't be able to use them tomorrow. And then, if we win that game, then they won't, who's going to pitch in the first game of the next series against the Astros? And I immediately snapped out of it, and I'm like, well, we have to win today. So why are we even worrying about what might happen tomorrow? It's a close game today. We might not even win today. The season could be over today. And it's like life imitating art in this case being baseball. That's the best way I could put it. Like, exactly, there might not be tomorrow. So as much as you want to plan and put all your chess pieces in play in the correct way and strategically plan your next steps, that's okay. But at the same time, you always have to be focused on today because tomorrow might never, ever come. So it was just this thing that's very obvious. I talk about it all the time. We all know you're not promised tomorrow, and don't focus too much on the future. Don't get caught up in the big picture, and then all the little things day to day kind of get lost, especially when the big picture might not even look the same by the time you get there. But it was kind of one of those moments where I went, oh yeah, that relates right back to actual normal real life that actually matters, not just sports. Why am I worrying? It's silly from a fan perspective because it's like, why am I worrying about who he's going to pitch now and not tomorrow? But also, why am I worrying about a game that might never even take place. So it just kind of snapped me back to reality in terms of my own thought process lately. Because with music, I have been getting caught up a bit on the big picture stuff too much recently. And this weekend was good because I snapped out of that a little again in the studio, preparing music for live shows, because that's really what the next step is for me, I think. I haven't performed live since we were on the Chris Webby tour in God, I don't even know what year that was. This is before we even moved to LA, and I've been here for 6 years now, so it's been a long time since I've performed. And even then, those performances, completely different format. A DJ playing the beat of the song, us rapping over the song, kind of shitty, it was fun. I'm not talking shit about it, but it was the best times of my life, honestly. But obviously a much different way of performing moving forward with this new kind of format of the music I'm making, and all of it being on me. I was last night at the concert. I'm watching, kind of deciphering everything. At one point, I think my girlfriend was worried I wasn't having fun because I wasn't dancing and moving and stuff, which is obviously typical for a concert, especially if the music was so good. It was impossible not to bob your head or move, dance a little bit. I almost just danced. But I couldn't help but be analyzing everything from the perspective of a musician. Or okay, I see how he does this. How could I apply that to how I do my thing? And I think that's okay to do. Obviously, it's smart to do. It's again, watching sports. Growing up, if you played a certain position in sports, your coach would always be like, when you watch that sport professionally, focus on that player and what he does. So I was doing that. But anyway, so the next step for me seems to be definitely getting on some shows. So getting in the studio and just kind of reverse engineering all the songs from the EP to perform live, because obviously it'll be a bit different arrangement since I'm playing every instrument and stuff live. Obviously, Pissed Off Waltz already has kind of a perfect format for that, and that's why I released that one as the live session first. But so what I'm getting at is that with the whole sports thing, the whole tomorrow might never happen. Focus on today. Focus on what you can. Enjoy it. But get your today task done, because tomorrow might never come. And so rather than getting caught up on the big picture of how the album's performing or all this shit that no one cares about if you're not an artist, the engagement and social media, all that stuff, rather than getting caught up on all of it and all the stuff I have to do, I was okay, I'm focusing on this. And right now that is reverse engineering everything to play live in front of actual human beings, because that's the way music is meant to be, real music. I think it's one of the most beautiful, pure forms of it is just creating it live in front of someone and letting them enjoy it straight to the source, right? Mainlining it, if you will. So yeah, I'm just trying not to get caught up on the big picture too much, because you know how they say comparison is the thief of joy? I think comparing yourself to what you want to be one day is also equally the thief of joy. So getting caught up on what you want to attain from something rather than just doing it for how much you love it, I think that's a really dangerous, slippery thing, especially for your mental health. And so I'm trying to focus on that this week and every week, every day. And it's kind of fun. The whole reverse engineering the song is kind of fun, because it's like I made the song, I wrote the song, but now I have to learn it. You know what I mean? When you're writing the song, it's kind of just everything's happening kind of quickly. But when you want to know the song so much so that you can perform it at the drop of a hat and it will be flawless every time. Not flawless. It doesn't matter if it's flawless. Miles Davis once said, any wrong note is just one note away from being a right note. Half step away from being a right note. So not flawless, but knowing it well enough to perform is a totally different thing than just having written the song. So it's kind of fun, and you can kind of get a little creative with, again, changing the composition of it and where things take place in the song. So that's what I'm focused on right now, and I'm excited to, again, not try to focus on the end goal too much, but the end goal of that is to perform live, and I am excited in pursuing that and getting to actually do that again. I'm going to put this out there right now on paper in the ether of the internet. I'm going to play the Rochester Jazz Festival next year for sure. I'm certain of it. I'm putting that out in the world right now. I just think that it's not... I did it when I was young. I did it when I was a kid in high school for the Blue Notes. For Blue Notes, like the select jazz group of our high school. I got to be on that stage, and it was an amazing experience. Probably the biggest crowd even still to this day. Maybe opening for Kid Ink was a bigger crowd, but pretty close. And that was the best. There's no feeling like it. And just to go back home and do that would be amazing. And so I'm putting that out there, that that's going to happen. So, again, just trying not to get too caught up on the big picture stuff. Enjoy every moment, every day. And it's not always easy. I've had some setbacks, definitely. Really up and down. The medication thing is going well, I think. I think definitely it is I am quicker to be anxious now than I was when I was on them. And by anxious, I mean that we're all anxious. But specifically regarding, or, in regards to my depersonalization, was pretty heavy at the mall, actually, like I was just talking about, with all the very artificial lighting, and I don't know, everything seemed like a cartoon while I was in there, and it was hard to like snap myself back into like, it's okay, you're here right now at the mall, you know where you are, you know what you're doing, everything is okay. So I've noticed that, but otherwise, I think it's been going pretty well with being off the medication. The only other thing that and I know I've mentioned it before, is that it seems like sometimes when my mind drifts, maybe if it's right before I go to bed, or maybe after being angry about something or anxious about something, my mind goes to very strange places, not necessarily like suicidal thoughts or anything like that, but just weird, like not happy thoughts, certainly, like dark, kind of strange, morose feelings. I don't know. I don't want to be thinking about things that I have been thinking about in those moments. So that's something to keep an eye on, and it's something that I'm kind of working through right now. And I know I've said in the past, but it is kind of one of those things when you go through phases where you feel like you're not in control of your thoughts, it's very hard not to feel like you're losing it or like you're going crazy. So that's, again, something that I've been dealing with and working on. It's just a very strange feeling to feel like you're not in control of your noggin, because you got to be, to a certain extent. Obviously, there's stuff happening in your subconscious constantly, but when your like actual stream of thought doesn't seem to be in your control, it's a weird feeling. I actually feel some depersonalization right now. Since this is a mental health podcast, I guess it's not weird to say that. I'm feeling very withdrawn and out of it, and it's also sometimes weird to be hearing my own voice through the headphones and be like, what's going on? We're okay. Another sip of tea will help. Tea is wonderful. I'm not a big tea guy. I'm more of a coffee guy. But when I do drink it, I do very much enjoy it. It's delicious. Let's see what else. What else we got going on? We're at almost at 30 minutes, which is not bad. I kind of like this more unprocessed, raw, organic podcast aspect. Sometimes it's just a little hard when I don't write out my thoughts to like actually say what I'm trying to get at. So we'll see. It's all an adjustment thing. I guess since I don't have much else to talk about and we're getting to the end, I'll address something quickly. The last Mental Health Mondays episode was centered around mostly like just enjoying the little things and realizing like life is not that as serious as we make it. It's okay to like let your mind drift and almost take things that aren't serious seriously. Sometimes taking things that aren't serious seriously is fun and can be enjoyable and therapeutic, and it's okay. Like when you're a nerd, I'm a huge nerd. I know that you could see like all the pop dolls and stuff like that. When you're really nerdy over one specific topic, say it's like Star Wars, like a Star Wars nerd. It's a classic version of a nerd. And I mean no disrespect. I am a Star Wars nerd, so I don't mean it in a disrespectful manner. the fun in like being part of a community like that, or of like having a passion like that, is it doesn't matter at all. It's not life and death how good the new Star Wars movie is, or the plot, or how you feel about whatever your love for that certain thing is. It's not life and death, but it's fun it's an escape for a lot of people. And obviously it's a slippery slope where that can be, using that to escape your reality completely and not handling the things in front of you is not good for your mental health. But in small doses, it's okay. It's fun. I think it's a positive thing to have escapes from your day-to-day struggles. That's okay. So that was basically what I was trying to get at last week. And in my example of that was I watched Hocus Pocus for the first time as an adult. And my critical review of it was an example of me getting too into something that's not that serious to let myself have fun and to let myself kind of escape the world for a minute and not be talking about, this is what you need to do for your mental health, because I think that that's a bit abrasive. And to be honest, as much as those are my thoughts that I was saying all the first several episodes where things were a bit more structured, I do feel those things. Those were my thoughts. I did write them down. It's a little forced, and it's not, I feel like because I'm reading it off of a thing, my personality is not coming through as much as I would like it to be. Again, it's all a process, still kind of new to this, and I'll figure out the happy medium eventually. But anyways, so last week, my first attempt at doing the podcast without writing anything out, I wasn't planning on talking about how I watched Hocus Pocus, but it happened. And I talked about the common theme throughout the movie, the joke of the kid being a virgin, posted the clip, whatever. And I know this is silly to give this so much shine. It's one person. No one's even watching this podcast yet. It's one person who commented on something. But I feel that it's necessary for me to address it because, one, I'm proud of myself for the way I handled it. Because I think an older version of myself, a younger version of myself, the old version of myself, wouldn't have handled it as well as I did. I would have went off on the person. I would have I did care. I did care that somehow what I said was offensive to somebody, because it wasn't offensive. I'm trying to be sensitive and knowing that this is a mental health podcast. I'm posting it, and the people that are engaging with it on social media, which has been much better than the actual long form podcast, of course. They are enjoying it. They are specifically consuming it in a matter, or for the reason, the full purpose of getting something out of it in the mental health aspect of things. I think when you don't know who I am or anything like that, and you just see this clip on the internet, it's some guy talk. I could be a psychologist for all they know, and that's a scary thing because I'm not, and I'm not trying to act like I am. But they don't know. They've seen these clips. Maybe it's well worded. It sounds good. They're like, oh, I like this person. Follow me, or they have kept up with the stuff, whatever. And that this person was one of those people. So I understand that they are watching it from the lens of, or through the lens of, this person is speaking about mental health and is trying to help be inclusive and sensitive, hypersensitive to people with mental health issues, which I am. So that's why when the person took such offense to it, it sucked, because I'm like, okay, the last thing I want to do is offend someone. Usually it's like, if this was just a podcast where I was fucking around constantly, which is honestly, I want to do, that's why I thought maybe I should separate it, and just focus specifically on like mental health help stuff here, and do something else where I can be a little bit goofier and it not matter as much. But if it was something like that and I said something that offended someone and I was just joking around, I genuinely wouldn't care. But the thing is that this is a mental health podcast. The last thing I need to be doing is damaging someone's mental health in any way and hurting their feelings. So that's why it affected me as much as it did. It didn't really affect me, but I obviously don't want this to ever be detrimental to someone's mental health or offend anyone, because that's the exact opposite of what my goal is. So I think that's why it took me by surprise that someone was offended by what I said. Now, I don't regret anything I said. It was a joke. I was just messing around about again, I know I said this many times, but a children's Halloween movie from 20-something years ago, 30, I don't even remember now. So obviously it's not a big deal. But it also showed me, like, damn, you'll never make everyone happy. Nothing you do will please everyone, whether it be in art or in your life goals or at work or your relationships. You'll never be able to make everyone happy 100% of the time. So it's best not to get caught up on that completely, but it did definitely throw me for a loop. I was like, what the hell? I was very surprised that it happened that way. So again, going forward, I don't mean to offend anyone. I didn't know it was such a hot take to have an opinion on a 20-year-old movie, and somehow it gotten taken. The person was like, I hope all your videos get taken down and stuff. Like, you're not, I don't know. It was just a little much. I think obviously maybe that person needs some love and some help in their life, and I hope that they get it and that things improve for them. Because to me, and this is not to play armchair psychologist, quite literally, to get offended by something like that, as much as I said, like what I said, clearly they have things going on in their own lives and with their own mental health journey. Because for that person to have found me, obviously I would imagine they're interested in the topic of mental health at least enough to have seen what I said. So for someone to get offended by something as little as that, to me says that they definitely have some stuff going on that they need to deal with. Because just as much as I can't make everyone happy, you can't be making everyone happy 100% of the time always. It's just not possible. You also can't expect other people to be making you happy 100% of the time, all the time, always. And you can't expect that everyone is always going to have the same opinion as you. And you can't always take someone's opinion as being vile or evil or horrible if it's not matching up with what your opinion is on something. So that would be my advice for that person if they ever watch the actual full podcast and not the minute and 30-second clips that I post to social media, is just, listen, you got to work through some stuff, and the specific topic at hand about virginity offended you to a point that I don't know if you experienced something in your life in regards to that subject that obviously what I said triggered you, but you got to know that I didn't mean it from a vile place at all. I don't have, and there's nothing like that in me. I don't feel that way towards anybody. I don't want to hurt anyone. In fact, that's the exact opposite of the goal of this podcast. So I think maybe you should, I can't tell you how to feel, but I hope maybe you could watch that again and realize the direction I was going with it and know that I meant absolutely no harm by it. And also, for your own good, I hope that you can continue to move forward in your life, realizing that not everything is an attack and not everyone's opinion that is different from yours means that they're a bad person or that they're evil. And that you're perfect and everything you feel is right and righteous. And I think that's something that I think our generation gets shit on a lot for no reason. But that does seem to be something that I tend to agree with, that we are way hypersensitive about things. And again, this is a mental health podcast. I'm not trying to tell anyone how to feel. I'm not saying that anyone is too sensitive. Every feeling is valid. Like, I'm trying to balance validating people's feelings while also being realistic. And even that's not a good word to say, because it's what's realistic to me might not be realistic to someone else. So it's different. It's difficult to toe that line. But I guess what I'm saying is, regardless of that, I think in my mind that we do as a generation struggle to realize that we are not always going to agree with people, and just because we don't agree with them does not make them bad. And also, not every one of our opinions is correct or worthy of existing even. Sorry, that's just the truth. So, I don't know. I didn't mean to hurt anyone's feelings, certainly. And I hope I don't going forward. I guess I'll leave movie reviews out of the itinerary for the podcast. That was borderline shut up and dribble, what she said to me, though. What they said to me was just like, you have no right to be talking on this. She called me a cisgender white male, and said I didn't talk about how I lost my virginity as if that had anything to do with it. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm talking about. This is too much. It genuinely was one comment. No, everyone else was like, that's ridiculous. But it did get to me a bit because I don't want to offend anyone. But also, I have the right to say how I feel, and you don't have to consume it at all. I'm not trying to give advice per se. I'm just trying to talk through my own experience with things, add a little levity at times because we definitely all take things a bit too seriously, and just hope to add some hope into the world. I don't know. That's all I have to say about that, in the words of the great Forrest Gump. So I think this is plenty of time. I have to cut that little section out. But anyways, thank you again for tuning in, and excited to continue to work on this stuff for live shows, and I'll definitely update as much as I can on the music side of things. Right now, it's kind of slow. That's really the only thing I'm working on because I don't want to drop too much new music at once. I have a bunch of stuff that's getting close to being ready for that, but I got to focus on one thing at a time. Otherwise, none of it will ever happen. So right now I'm focusing on getting ready for a show, and I'll announce as soon as I figure that out because I can't wait to see everyone there, and it could be awesome. Can't wait. But again, I hope that you have another fantastic week. I apologize for not doing one or taking a week off. It wasn't really on purpose. It just happened. Life happens. It's all good. Go Yankees. Go Jets. Since I talked about sports, we'll see how my mental health is after this week, depending on if the Yankees are still in the playoffs or not. Next week should be interesting. But remember always, I got to remember always that I got this. You got to remember you got this. And if not, we got this. Get through it together. You can get through anything. You're stronger than you think. You're more important than you think. And nothing is impossible. And every day you wake up with air in your lungs is just proof again and again and again that nothing is impossible. The gift of life seems to be the most impossible thing there is, and yet you still have it. So I hope, again, that this can help get you through your week. Maybe take some little things I said, or laugh at them, or be like, you're an idiot, or hate watch this. I don't care. Whatever way it adds to your life, that's all I'm trying to do. So, again, I got this, you got this, we got this. Peace out. Take care of yourself.